knelt in the mud, hands shaking as I held her head against my chest. I could feel her breath, shallow and weak, slipping away. I was the prince, the man with all the power in the world. But in that moment, I was powerless. Her name was Ada, the woman I loved more than my own life. She was not a princess, not even close. She was a farmer's daughter from a small, humble village. And the first time I saw her, she had dirt under her fingernails and a smile brighter than the palace walls. But love, true love, doesn't care about status or wealth. It just happens. The day we met, I was on a hunt with my father, the king, and his men. I spotted her in the field, carrying a bundle of firewood, her laughter like music in the air. It struck me like a blow. She looked up, caught my eye, and then looked away, blushing. I couldn't let go of the moment. I had to see her again. I started visiting her village in secret, dressed in plain clothes. We'd meet by the river, talking for hours, laughing, sharing stories of our worlds. She was wise, Ada. She'd speak to me about life, about strength, about how happiness couldn't be bought. I believed her. Soon my heart knew it belonged to her. When I finally told my father, the king, he laughed. Then he got angry. "A prince does not marry a peasant," he told me, voice sharp and final. He wanted me to marry Princess Eve from the neighboring kingdom. An alliance, status, power. But I fought him. I told him I would marry Ada and no one else. His anger grew, and he sent his guards to capture her, to scare her. They dragged her through the palace gates, forced her to kneel before him. She was terrified but stood strong, lifting her chin, defying him in silence. My heart tore seeing her like that. "Ada, you must leave him," my father warned her. "Forget him, or I will make your family suffer." But she refused. "If he truly loves me," she whispered, "I will wait." I made a choice then. I could not live without her, not if it meant hurting her, her family, everyone she loved. So I went to my father and said, "If you make me marry anyone but Ada, I will leave the palace. I will live as a commoner." He was furious, thinking it was just words, just a bluff. But I meant it. I packed my things, left the palace without looking back. I chose a simple life with her over everything I'd ever known. I thought we could be happy, thought we'd won. But my father, he wasn't finished. He couldn't stand the thought of his only son with the village girl. He had people follow us, mess with our lives, even threaten Ada's family, hoping I'd break, hoping I'd come crawling back. One night a message came, a warning. "If you don't leave her, you'll lose everything, even her." I didn't think he'd go that far, I couldn't imagine it. But that very night men came to our small home and Ada was taken. I chased after them, running through the woods, through the dark, feeling nothing but fear. When I found her, she was hurt, barely holding on. They'd left her there, a warning. I held her, whispering her name, begging her to stay with me. Her eyes opened barely. She reached up, touched my face and smiled. "I love you," she whispered. "But go back, be the prince, be everything you're meant to be." I shook my head, crying, promising I'd never leave her, that I'd fight for her, that I'd spend my life protecting her if I had to. And as she lay there in my arms, I realized I would do whatever it took. My father, the palace, all of it could burn to the ground. I would give up every title, every coin, every ounce of power for her. She was my world, and if I had to choose again, I'd still choose her. Every time.